What's probably most frightening about this is I think all of us have the ability to sexually abuse.
But it's very important to separate pedophilia, which is the sexual interest in children, from child molestation, which is the behavior. Some pedophiles are child molesters, some child molesters are pedophiles, but they're not perfectly overlapping. Even though nobody's found a way of turning a pedophile into a non-pedophile, there can be ways to help the person learn to control their own behavior. So child molestation might be treatable in the sense that we might be able to influence how likely the person is to engage in the behavior, even though we can't change the basic nature of the person's genuine underlying sexual interests.
I think there's this sort of general understanding by kind of ordinary citizens that every sex offender is the same, that that every sex offender is just like maybe some Paul Bernardo just waiting to leap out and do something horrible. And that's not really the case.
The majority of cases are, for example, incest cases. Very often the perpetrator is a friend, a family acquaintance, or a family member of the victim. A lot of the offenses are often grossly inappropriate, but nuisances, and often it's barely even noticed by the child that it was inappropriate.
1 out of 3 or 4 girls and 1 out of 6 to 10 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. And then what people don't know also is that 93% of those children know the person who abused them. So, and then of those, usually about around a third of those are within the family, and almost 2/3 of those are people with, within the extended family, the circle of acquaintances.
We also have a great, now an increasing number of child pornography offenses, which in themselves have a great range. In some cases, the photographs and the pornography that they use depicts somebody actually getting molested. Some of them are just plain everyday, if I can say plain everyday, pictures of children in bathing suits, in a swimming pool. Now, they're erotic to a pedophile, but not to anybody else, and certainly the subject of the picture is not at all harmed.
The one statistic I didn't say was also, I think it's important for people to know, is that 30 to 50% of people who abuse are children themselves, maybe children or older children.
One of the things we know is that kids who engage in that sort of behavior as kids are very rarely likely to go on to do that as adults. In fact, probably 95% or better of the children who engage in those kind of sexually offensive behaviors as children, only about 5% of them go on to do that as adults.
But the number of people who have a sexual attraction to children is fairly small, and the statistics are showing that sort of like of the offending population, only 5% really are truly dangerous, and so we do want to target that 5% who are truly dangerous, who are really at high risk to sexually abuse. The other 95% is what we need to think have different ways of accountability, different opportunities.
In the series of studies that my team did, looking at the role of the brain in causing pedophilia, the first information that was available to us was IQ. It turns out that men who are genuinely pedophilic, as determined by phallometric testing, have about a 10-point lower IQ on average than men who are non-pedophilic. The population's average IQ is about 100, and among the pedophiles, just a little bit lower than 90. Now, a 90 IQ is still in the normal range. Nobody would notice that these people are atypical if you met one on the street. But it is the first clue that there's something about how the brain works and how the brain is formed is different in these people. There's something a little bit off.